This is a trip right here, man. Shit. I'll keep them to myself. All right, let's do it.
What's up, folks? It's PanamaSteve of Pacific Vibe Studios. Right here, we got the homeboy Matt out of San Jose from Raza del Sol. And also we have Larry, also known as Pops, right here out of San Jose as well. Welcome on in, gentlemen.
Right on, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you just making time. I know there was some scheduling issues, so I appreciate you just making this happen. Appreciate you, and everything that you do as well.
I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
It's all love right here, and it's a pleasure to have you guys in here.
Sure.
First and foremost, these guys got a lot of game to kick. It's beautiful that you guys are not only a part of the Chicano lifestyle, but also the movement. And I would love for you guys to just, I don't mind if we just dive right into it and like clarify a few things, like, the definition of a Chicano,
right?
And Mexicano and all these different versions,
right?
That everybody has all their different names and clarifications and jackets they want to put. I'm a pocho, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm like that. Mexicano X or whatever.
Yeah.
So please, feel free to just enlighten us on all this.
Right. Well, I think first and foremost, it's just important to put out there that, not because, Mexico is the largest Spanish-speaking country in Latin America. And then on top of that, Latin America in itself is pretty large. So with that said, you're going to have tons of different experiences, nationalities, and identities. So as far as Chicano's concerned, there's probably not two people out there that are gonna 100% agree on everything. So anything that I say, I'm not saying anybody else is wrong or anything like that. It's just my experience and my opinion based on my personal experience, but also a lot of research and also talking to a lot of veteranos, a lot of the old schools, whether it be just old school Chicanos from back in the day, or people that were actually involved in the movement, lowriders, and so on and so forth. So I just want to put that out there first. Chicano, it's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different beliefs out there. Most people tend to believe that the word Chicano comes from the Nahuatl, meaning Mexica, the language of the Aztecs. So that's the most popular belief, but I personally disagree with that because there's not really any actual evidence of that. Most of those ideals came out during 1992, which was the 500 years of resistance. So they had a lot of Raza, they were organizing during 1992 in sort of an anniversary of resisting colonization since 1492. So during that time, there was a big push on the Mexica movement, pushing calpulis and so on and so forth. And there was some people that were basically mixing Chicano and Mexica, and what do you call it? So a lot of folks, they started spelling Chicano with an X, so X-I-C-A-N-O, because X, the Spaniards didn't know how to pronunciate the sh or ch sound.
Yeah, right.
Like in the Mexican alphabet, or in Latin America at least, that's actually like a letter in the alphabet, A, B, C, Che. But prior to colonization, it was just A, B, C, D, right? And so they didn't know how to pronunciate it initially, so they would put an X, meaning unknown, to replace the ch sound. So that's why Mexico is spelled with an X. So that tends to be the most popular belief. But the reason why I just disagree, just like historically speaking, the only way that would be true is if the first people that identified as Chicanos and were also called Chicanos externally from an outside group, for example, you would have to prove that they were Nahuatl speakers, that they actually spoke fluent Nahuatl, and the way they pronunciated Mexicano wasn't Mexicano, was Mexicano. So with that said, there's no proof whatsoever that the first Chicanos, now you could go back to the, when the land was first stolen from the United States, 1848, you could go back to those times. You could go back to Joaquin Murrieta and Tiburcio Vasquez, Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, all of that stuff. But really, the first people to really identify the word and the first people that were called that word, you know, was post the Mexican Revolution. So after the Mexican Revolution, 1910 to 1920, either due to poverty, despair, refugees escaping the war, or the economic damage that the war had caused, there's a big population of Mexicanos that came to the United States, specifically the Southwest. Now, it's important to understand there was already Raza here.
Right.
There was already, our Raza was already here. But during that time, there was a big,
You're saying in the early 1900s?
early 1900s. And so there was a lot of terms that were used for that specific group of people, specifically the children. And not all of them were good. Most of them had negative connotations. Even pachuco was a negative connotation.
Right.
Pachuco, cholo, rascuache, bandido, marihuano, grifo, or even chicano. A lot of those terms were connotations to describe them as mobsters, hoodlums, and things of that nature. Now, when I say that, it's like when you say the word Chicano, what I'm trying to get at is that originally it was more so a negative connotation by what we call, or what our raza tends to call, gente decente. So what I mean by that is like honest, hardworking, Catholic Mexicanos.
And this is what they would call
Was
the
one
working
of the terms.
class, the Mexican working class.
Yes, they
right?
would call the younger kids that were influenced by swing music, which was like a dancing version of jazz, and the whole zoot suit get down, because that was actually I would say adopted from the black folks, because jazz comes from black folks.
Right.
There was already black folks in Harlem wearing zoot suits. Malcolm X wore a zoot suit. So Chicanos related to that most likely because they were also non-white, and they came from communities that were discriminated against. So they clinged on to it, just like today a lot of young kids cling on to hip hop.
Right.
Or the generation
the
before
new
us
style,
oldies.
right.
Right, and so that was one of the terms. So more than likely, the word term Chicano had a couple different connotations. One of it is that it meant like low class or poor or ghetto or hoodlum, but also one of the theories is that Cheech Moran is big on this. He wrote a couple articles that the word Chicano meant Chico Mexicano, or meaning not Mexican enough compared to the other Mexicanos. Because they're the real Mexican. And you get that a lot today. A lot of Chicanos, we get that all day from the paisas, from the Mexicanos. You're not Mexican enough. You're not really Mexican. You're from over here, so on and so forth. It's like, whether it's because we're born here, or whether it's because, we dress differently, or because we we don't speak Spanish, or don't speak Spanish fluently or correctly.
Or the right way.
So I think online we were talking about the word pocho. So that's a for sure straight up insult that's still used today. They used that back in the days too. But Chicano was most likely originally that. And then what happened was, as this culture was developing, there was Chicanos already doing, the graffiti, the plaquiazos, the tattoos, the low riding, the zoot suits, this whole estilo. In the 1960s, when the Chicano movement exploded, it kind of redefined that term. It's more so like I said, Chicano more so turned at that time to be defined as Ike. Soy Chicano Ike. What are you gonna do about it? But not just to conservative Mexicanos and stuff like that, not necessarily. At that point, I think the energy was driven towards, the larger racist white Anglo society. You know what I'm saying? And so it was like, we're Chicano or Mexicanos, Ike. What are you gonna do about it? And we're gonna fight for our rights and so on and so forth. So that's mainly, I think, when people think of Chicano, it's either those two things. They think that it comes from the Nahuatl, which I already explained that, and then the other thing is that it meant like I'm proud. I'm from to fight for my rights, so on and so forth. Which it does, but at the same time, like not all Chicanos are out there with you know, picket signs,
Right.
trying to change the world, right? You know what I'm saying? Not everybody has that privilege or even the time, because we come from a working class, or what socialists might describe as like lumpen proletariat, you know, the downtrodden class. You know what I'm saying? That's largely what we come from, either the working class or the downtrodden. That's our people. And we don't all have time, that privilege, to be fighting for our rights. I do. You know what I'm saying? You know, but we don't all have that. So it's not fair to be, well, you're only Chicano if you fight for your rights. And it's like, that's not fair. That's not right. Not everybody can do that.
Right. It's like believing in God, but not going to church every Sunday.
Right. Like some people might say, or they have a relationship, right? You know what I'm saying? So similar kind of thing, yeah.
So you think like, so I'm sorry, you're saying that like in the 60s is when there was really embracing the movement and start kicking it into gear of like the Ike, what you gonna do about it?
What you gonna do about it?
Right. And then from there it evolutionized to more into the lowrider and everything.
Right. It's well, Sonny Madrid, he described that era post Chicano movement, which I believe the Chicano movement is still alive. So I have to put that out there, because as long as I'm alive, this motherfucker right here, as long as we alive, hey,
it's still moving.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? The movement's alive.
Right.
You know, you see me dead, and we'll see what happens. But it's too bad, because I already done influenced everybody else, their mama, during that period of time, right? My kids and so on and so forth. But post Chicano movement, at least the golden era of the 60s, Sonny Madrid described it as the lowrider renaissance. So that's when, you know, Lowrider Magazine, Andy's Hydraulics, you know what I'm saying? You got to help me out here, Larry. What else was cracking during that time?
Oh man, a lot was going on. But you know, I was thinking back. I was just thinking in my head, man.
Yeah.
Thinking about Lalo Guerrero. Remember?
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about Chicano Boogie back in the you know, early
1950.
Yeah, early, man. And you know, they were influenced by the Pachuco lifestyle.
Right.
And that's just pretty like crazy to think about how long that word Chicano's been around. You know?
Yeah, it's been around.
So
Since the 50s.
No, way back. Well, what he's referencing is pretty interesting
40s.
because
The 40s.
it's like,
probably older than that.
yeah, well, I mean, saying
Probably
because his
more than
mom
that.
was. You told me that
Right.
his mom was talking about Chicano and stuff.
Right. So what he's talking about is
Tucson.
right. So Lalo Guerrero is considered the father of Chicano music. He was recording like Pachuco swing, boogie music. That's basically like jazz. You could dance to.
Yeah, it was like Latin swing.
Yeah, it was Latin swing or
Yeah,
Chicano swing.
It was the hip thing back
Call
then.
it Chicano swing.
Making a movement back in the day.
Yeah.
They were the first ones to really do it.
Right.
You know?
But like I think he's there's a lot of interviews with him and talking about where that Chicano word comes from and how does he identify it. It's kind of interesting. He, according to the article and the history that's out there, he was the first American born from his family, but he says his mom was a proud Chicana and she always identified with that. But he's from Tucson. You know, we're talking about the early 1900s, late 1800s, and she was already identifying with this word.
And she was Mexicana.
She was Mexicana, but she identified
embraced
as. But you
the
got to think
Chicana,
about
yeah.
during this time, right? Like this is during that whole era of Mexico's land being stolen.
Territory. It was just
And there's a lot of history going to Tucson. Like Tucson doesn't get enough credit.
Right.
Out in Arizona, they have the oldest like barrios. They got Barrio El Hoyo, they got Barrio Centro, Barrio Libre, Barrio Viejo.
And this is from the early 1900s.
still,
No, 1800s. Homie.
18.
it's still
Wow.
Before the streets had names, they had these names. And to this day, they actually have council members that are representative of these barrios. Like for example, in Frisco, there's the Mission District.
Right.
In San Jose, there might be District 5, District 4, or whatever.
Yeah.
So they actually have council members representing Barrio Viejo, Barrio El Hoyo. Those are the official names because that's how deep that goes. But that's a trippy conversation because I'm telling you right here that the earliest, if you go back and you interview enough old school Chicanos from back in the day, they'll all say that it was actually a bad word, that other Mexicanos used to use that as a bad word to sort of insult or to criminalize or to call the little hoodlum Chicano kids Chicanos, right? But in that essence, maybe that was externally how it was received. But internally, it might have meant something else. It might have meant just a different way of saying Mexicano. You know, in Tucson, there's a lot of Yaquis. So they for sure, within a 100-year period or 50 years, they were Yaqui, Native Americans. And then they were Mexicans because it was part of Mexico. And then they became Americans. And I think they only got some Yaquis, they only got federally recognized like only a decade ago or so.
Wow.
So it's a very interesting history there. You know, what is it? Cesar Chavez is Yaqui. I believe Sonny Madrid as well.
Luis Valdez.
Luis Valdez is Yaqui. Motherfucking, what's his name, man? La Bamba.
Richie Valens.
Richie Valens, homie. Yaqui también. You know, so there's a lot of roots going back to that, whether they're Yaqui or Mexican or Chicano.
And this is a certain part of Arizona.
Yeah, a certain part of Arizona. Yeah, southern Arizona, the border area.
So essentially, this was Mexico.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that was their land.
Right.
Their land.
That's that region.
That got split.
Right, so that's pretty interesting. You know, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, we'll talk about the calo, eh? You know, the
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? the Chicano language, eh?
Oh, the Chicano language. Oh, it's like... so what he's talking about is like a lot of people...
The Calo?
Calo,
a lot of
calo,
people
yeah, the
give,
language,
you know, the Chicano slang like a negative connotation.
It's
They-
Spanglish.
like it's a slang or a gangster slang. That's the way the cholos talk. That's not proper. That's improper. That's ghetto. You know, only like pintos and marihuanos and winos, they only talk like that. Gangsters and cholos and so on and so forth. But it's actually a dialect. And the name of it is Chicano Calo. And Chicano Calo is said to derive from, what is it said to be derived from? Let me try to remember this. Anglicized Spanish, like, for example, wacha, instead of watch,
Of course.
wacha.
Yeah.
Hispanicized English. What's a good one, man?
What do you mean? Like word?
Like, Hispanicized English. Like, it's basically like a Spanglish.
Yeah, it's Spanglish, but it's like but it's just kind of like it's a language spoken to those who are in that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
You say canicas, like canicas.
Chale.
Yeah.
Canicas. So canicas, you know, if someone says, you know, ta canica, well, that's referring to, you know, you kind of lost your marbles, or it's crazy.
Ta canica.
Canica, maybe marble, meaning marbles. When someone says ta canica, it's like saying, you know, you lost your marbles. You lost it. You're crazy. You know what I'm saying? You're out of here. You're way out. You know. So okay, moving on. We already talked about anglicized Spanish, Hispanicized English, and then there's also Gitano Spanish, or what they call Calo in southern Spain. I could go in a whole thing. I'm not going to go into. I'm not ready for it. But
No?
Nah, but I'll talk a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. I just thought
so,
you would mention a little bit of that.
Gitano Spanish, or what they call Calo, is spoken in southern Spain by the Romani. They have a racial slur that is in a negative tone that's more known. They call them gypsies. But their actual culture is Romani. So they were basically slaves in Europe, all throughout Europe, for like going back to the year like 1000. I think they didn't even earn like Spanish citizenship until 1978 or 79.
Wow.
You know, but what do you call it? They have their own sort of language, which is a Romani, but it's like their version of Spanish. So it's mixed with Spanish and their actual language, which is Romani, and they call it Calo. And so a lot of the words that a lot of Latinos in general, not just Mexicanos or Chicanos, those words could derive from that. Like, for example, a real known one is chingar, or, you know, quieres chingazos,
Right.
or, you know, hijo de la chingada. You know, all those different, you know, different variations of that word. There's a bunch of different words like vato. That's another Calo word. It comes from the Romani.
Really?
A vato. There's a bunch of them. I can't list all of them. I would have to look at my notes or something. But it comes from the Gitanos. The Gitanos had already came here more than likely as slaves during colonization. So they already had slaves when they came here and colonized. And then they colonized the Indios, the Native Americans, and there was like a mesh of cultures. So they have the Calo, already talked about that one. And then the last one is what they call Black Jive, which is, you might call that like the predecessor to Ebonics.
Right.
That was spoken during the 20s and 40s by black folks because it came from the jazz era, right?
Right.
So it's a mixture of all those different things, but it's called Calo. Like órale, firme,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Ay te guacho, things like that. De aquellas, all those different words, yeah. Chicano Calo. Yeah, there's a lot of books, and you could trip out on it. There's a lot of dictionaries and books. Feel me, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie Trujillo, right?
Charlie Trujillo, he's working on.
something
Shout
like
out
that.
Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie.
Shout out to the Chuzma out there.
Yeah,
What's up, eh?
Right.
The Chusma?
Yeah, he's actually a professor, eh? That fool's fucking chingon, eh?
He's got a good one on Tiburcio Vasquez.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that
He's
out.
working on some kind of like Chicano, a Calo dictionary and encyclopedia. I think he's gonna have different volumes and shit. He's going all out. But he's a professor. He's with the shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's tight. Yeah, he's
So
working.
who do you think is the main man that like got the Chicano movement like really its respect that it has, like that,
Right.
that really got it moving? Is it
Right. I would say probably three vatos. One is Corky Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He's from, is he Colorado or New Mexico?
Denver.
Colorado.
Yeah, Denver.
So he was instrumental
He was a boxer too.
in, he was a boxer. He was instrumental in a document. It's kind of like, you could perceive it as sort of our version of the Black Panthers 10-point program, or maybe a manifesto of some type, but it's known as El Plan Espiritual de Aztlán. And so a lot of the ideology, like today, even if Chicanos ain't familiar with that document, a lot of it comes from it. So Corky Gonzalez off tops.
Yeah. I agree.
Number two would probably be Ruben Salazar. He was a journalist. He was actually born in Mexico, so that's important to understand.
So what years are we talking about?
Talking about
these days?
60s.
And this, both of them.
Yeah, about late 60s, early 70s.
Right, when it really started popping off.
Yeah, it was really cracking. And Ruben Salazar, he was a journalist out of LA, and he was born in Mexico. Again, I have to point that out because a lot of people think, well, you have to be born here. Well, those are colonial borders that
Right.
these other motherfuckers created. So anyways, he wrote a shitload of articles that, again, just like Corky in his document, El Plan Espiritual, and then also his poem, Yo Soy Joaquin.
Yeah, that's
Yo Soy Joaquin.
a good one.
But a lot of his articles, Ruben Salazar's articles, again, like when we think of the Chicano identity and ideology, even though we don't know his name, a lot of us may not know his name, but if you read his articles, you're going to look at a mirror, straight up. He was assassinated by the LA County Sheriff in 1970 at the Chicano Moratorium.
There's a talk about that was a PBS special that you don't really care for, Man in the Middle.
Oh, Man in the Middle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll get into that. Oh, man, I got a lot of things to say about that one, man. You're going to get me. Okay.
Bad.
So, and then the next vato is a vato that I don't want to get too much into it, but I do have to put it out there. He seems to be getting a lot of controversy lately, which, personally me, I think that a lot of people need more context. I don't want to get into it, but there's Cesar Chavez. So Cesar Chavez pretty much kicked off the Chicano movement, without a doubt.
Okay.
And I say that because once gente had seen, you gotta understand, it wasn't like today. So if you were Raza before like the 80s, more than likely, number one, your family was either working in the fields or had a family member that was. So it was something that everyone could connect to. Number two, in our culture, Mexicano culture, Chicano culture, Latino culture, there's pride in working hard, and there's almost like a shunning of fighting for your rights. Except when it comes to working and your livelihood and taking care of your family, that seems to be accepted, very accepted. Even to
Everybody
this day.
was for that.
Right. And so I think that with those two things together, that's why the United Farm Workers were given that platform, where everyone first seen for the first time on pretty much mainstream, television, news, and so on and so forth, and also their activism, because they were in a lot of grocery stores and so on and so forth. And it's very, very inspiring. So just in the same way, like Rosa Parks, when she said, "Charlie, I'm not gonna go sit in the back just because I'm black. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm tired.
Fuck that.
I'm tired. I ain't going to the back. I'm staying right here." She didn't mean to. She didn't mean to start the civil rights movement. But as soon as that event happened, it inspired black folks, right? To start engaging and fighting for their rights, And then much in the same way that happened to the Raza, once people seen the UFW and the Huelga Bird and Cesar Chavez and what they were fighting for, all of a sudden everyone started organizing. Everyone from in prison, they were organizing. In the barrios, they were organizing. In the schools, the janitors, you name it, everyone started organizing. There was even like I think we even had our own political party at some point that was neither Dem or Republican. It was La Raza Unida Party. And so I think those three vatos, I think for sure kicked off the movement for sure. Yeah, like and also put it into perspective. I think Ruben and Corky probably put it more in perspective. And Caesar, a lot of people forget, he was actually just a labor organizer. So he was just a union organizer.
He lived right here in Soho. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he did, right. And he started out
Sajonero, straight up.
He started out really right here, right? Father McDonald.
Yeah, that's right.
And, right there, Lady Guadalupe, church. All the magic went down right there in that
right
body
there.
way.
Right there, Sal Si Puedes. Modern day Mayfair, they call it Mayfair now, but it's Sal Si Puedes' his original name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that body was.
He was a Pachuco, fucking, you got pictures of him, you know what I mean, in his early years, and he liked that music, that jazz music.
He had a bomb too.
Oh,
he had an old school. Oh shit. He had an old school too. He had a bomb. He was a zoot suiter and everything like that.
What's interesting too, man, about that music, that Lalo, that era, them using lowrider as far back, you know what I mean, like the term lowrider has been around for a while too.
Oh, it's been around for a while. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting and shit.
Yeah.
But I was getting a little off topic with that one.
Yeah.
But Cesar Chavez for sure. Just thinking about him, didn't he have an experience in the movie theaters?
Oh right, yeah. He was in I think Delano. He was in Delano, and it was probably one of his earliest sort of inspirations to organize. But it was during his Pachuco days. He was in a Delano theater. And this is segregation. So they would give whites the best seats, and then they would have other seats for Mexicans and Filipinos and blacks and so on and so forth. So he went in no different from Rosa Parks. He said, "Charlie, man, I ain't fucking going over here to this side. I'm gonna go sit wherever I need to sit. You know what I mean? Like that's not right." And he got arrested. He did. He spent a night in jail over that. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make news. It was early on in his career. I'm sure there was tons of gente that did stuff like that. It was one of those. But those are one of the earliest stories that inspired him to do something.
That's what you got to do to kick it off, though, right?
Yeah.
To really make a make a change. You got to have the balls to do it one guy at a time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And he started later on in life, A lot of people don't, really understand that too. He was like in his 40s or some shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? When he first got it going, he wasn't. He was already pretty old.
He wasn't a young buck anymore.
Yeah, I mean he was already, but good age. I think 40 is a good age.
Right.
Shit, I think I understand that now. Like what you know what I mean? Like it's not really old, but it's you got a lot of knowledge at that age. It's a good age. So
right.
He was at the right age to go ahead and kick something off.
Right.
And
I think he actually because what Larry was pointing out was that he was a Pachuco already, and he had a sort of reputation because he used to actually help out in the church, the Lady of Guadalupe church that's on San Antonio on the east side, and I guess his name may have made some rings, and so Father McDonald and some I think his name is Fred Ross. Fred Ross from the CSO wanted to recruit him. So it's an interesting story when word got around that Fred Ross was trying to meet him to recruit him into the CSO to start organizing. When they heard about that, my homie's calling. What do you call it? When he had heard about that, him and his homies' plans was to jump Fred Ross. They were gonna beat him down. Eh? They're gonna kick his ass, and just because of their experiences with white folks coming into the barrio,
right,
and kind of like writing a newspaper. The next thing in the newspaper talks bad about them or something, that wasn't something that was in a negative light. So that was their plan. And so once Fred Ross started talking about the CSO, and they got like some cops accountable for beating or even I think possibly even killing a Chicano in L.A., Cesar Chavez, I guess his light bulb went on. He said, "Oh, I've heard about that. You're the dude. You're him." Oh, and I guess they already planned it out. He was smoking a frajo, and he was supposed to like put it down or something like that, and then the rest of them was going to take off on him. So they're going to remove him, just like he had to go, but he never did the signal, and he believed him, and he started organizing with them. And I think at first they were organizing like stuff to organize Chicanos to vote, to be more civically engaged. And so he had a party. He could have been set up. That's important to know. He could have been set up. You know what I'm saying? As far as like financially,
right?
Get an office job and be a successful Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? But he chose not to. He said, "You know what? I really have my heart set for the farm workers. I think it's gacho the way they're being treated." So he organized with Dolores, with Larry Idolon, and created the United Farm Workers, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think there was times they didn't get paid, and you know what I mean? They were just they were out there. I think he was working in the fields and stuff. And the whole family was working in the fields. So I was like, there ain't nothing glorious about that.
He was really down for the movement.
He could have been off his job and be
right.
the successful person everyone brags about. Look, you see Caesar now? He's doing real good. He's doing real good.
Right.
You see him now? He has a great job. That's what you should do too, mijo. But instead, he's organizing the farm workers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's where his heart was.
Man.
Yeah.
Even to his burial, he was buried in a wooden casket. It was.
Oh, pine box.
Yeah.
He didn't want nothing too fancy.
Yeah,
He wanted to
man, it
get
was
buried in a
real
pine
humble.
box.
And the
Pine box and a huelga bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a videotape, and a little short one, but it was like real powerful. When you buy something from the UFW store, they send me a video like probably like 5 minutes or something, but it was of his funeral segments of it. I was like, wow, man, it was like in the film is bad, eh? You know what I mean? The Bill Whale Bird comes on, I'm getting 3D and shit, like
right.
It's pretty tight, for the
right.
the effects it had. Like it was pretty cool. But yeah, you've been out there, Keene. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah. Where he's buried at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's in Keene, right?
Yeah, Keene.
Yeah, it's in Keene. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. He used to be a local board of supervisor. Now he's man, I don't want to get it wrong. He's either assembly member or a senator. But Dave Cortese, shout out Dave Cortese. He's cool. He organizes every single year a trip. He picks up everybody that wants to go. You just sign up, register. It's free. They pay for a lunch, breakfast, everything, and they bus you out to Keene, where Cesar Chavez is buried, and that's beautiful out there.
Where, in King City?
Keene, Keene. It's a few hours from here. It's in Central Valley somewhere.
Yeah. It's a little bit south of Bakersfield in the mountains.
Yeah.
Going towards like
it's beautiful though.
Grapevine.
Like it's where he's buried, what do you call it? There's like some waterfalls, you know what I'm saying? And there's like these sort of stone monuments that recognize all the people that lost their lives due to La Causa. So there's like actual monuments of each person that lost their lives. And then there's like a church there. But it's pretty cool. You get to meet the Chavez family, eat breakfast with them.
Wow.
You get to see like a old little shack to see exactly how he lived and other farm workers
Oh,
lived.
so that's where he was from?
Nah, he just that was what Keene was. That specific place is where he would go for peace because he had a lot of death threats. The mob was trying to kill him. The FBI was always following him. He was always being surveilled. There was a lot of tension between the agricultural industry, the media, so on and so forth. So he would go there just to kind of take a break. They actually tried to whack him there.
Wow.
They because there's a train, and they try to they try to blow him up with some dynamite, but they had it full. They had it on lock, so like no one harmed him or anything like that. But he used to go there just to get peace,
Interesting.
to escape. So that's why he was buried there, so he could
I'm gonna
rest
have
in
to go.
peace.
I'm gonna have to go.
You have
check
to
that
go,
out.
man.
Yeah, I'm
it's
gonna
an
check that out.
experience, and you get to see the little the farm worker shack that basically they used to live in. Like it was probably not bigger than this table. Like it was like in the pin, the shoe, the little cells.
Yeah.
About the same size. Feel me? And it's trippy. You see the clothes. He had like a windbreaker jacket, pair of Dickies.
Yeah.
but it wasn't no cholo
Yeah.
shit. It was just
Right.
that's workwear.
Yeah.
Right.
It's workwear. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. You get to see like a lot of that stuff. So it's very powerful. I take my kids there. You know what I mean? I take my kids there. Anything I get, I don't know if you've seen recently. We just went to
Tiburcio Vasquez.
gravesite.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Cemetery.
I took my son over there. I always wanted to go there. Larry been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, hey, Larry, show me.
Yeah.
Show me where to go. And then we went over there.
Man, that was cool. That was,
Yeah.
So
that was
tell us
powerful,
about
man.
him.
Tiburcio?
Yeah.
You want to talk
No,
about
go ahead,
him?
man. Shit, you got it. Yeah. I'm
Shy boy all of a sudden.
nah, man. Shit, you got this.
All right. Well, if I slip, you help
I
me out.
got you. Yeah.
If I slip, shoot from the hip.
All right. Got you.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Tiburcio Vasquez, that's a very interesting man. He was basically like the Pancho Villa or the Emiliano Zapata from California, or maybe even San Juan. Very interesting. So please forgive me if I don't get all the facts correct.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting history, though. From my understanding, his grandfather or his great-grandfather was actually came here to California during the De Anza expedition. So obviously we have a De Anza College. That's what it's named after. So during the De Anza expedition, the Spaniards had colonized, parts of the Bay Area, specifically Santa Clara County, stuff like that. And then they put on some missions out there. So after serving to colonize, right? Because a lot of people don't understand is like, although like his ethnicity is a little speculative, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to say that he is Mexica, but I will say this, that there's a lot of misunderstandings. A lot of people think they just killed the Aztec warriors and all that, but a lot of them were recruited into the Spanish military. So there was a lot of Mexica or later on mestizos, some of them that still spoke Nahuatl that were recruited into Spanish government and even the military. So anyways, his great-grandfather helped colonize, as crazy as that sounds. So for all those decolonized folks, you're going to be in for a trip. Okay, so they helped colonize Santa Clara County, through the De Anza expedition. And then later, I believe his son or grandson, which was the original Tiburcio, Jose Tiburcio Vasquez, he was the first mayor of San Juan. And you go to City Hall, you see his plaque.
Yeah, that's a trip.
The plaque is
Busto
there.
Vasquez.
Okay.
What year time frame we talking about?
1800s.
Yeah, it's the beginning. Yeah.
1800s.
Yeah, when
And
they
so
got found.
I don't know the exact year, but so what happened was now, of course, it went from Spain to being Mexico. Now the United States. The United States stole the land, right?
Right.
And so once the United States stole the land, there was no protection for Indios, Españoles, or Mexicanos. There was no protection for them whatsoever. Supposedly under the Treaty of Guadalupe, there was, but they disregarded all that because even when the white settlers tried to steal their businesses and
squatters.
stole land and did whatever they wanted, the sheriffs of the town didn't try to help the Mexicans. They just turned a blind eye. And so by the time it was Tiburcio's time, right, he was already like successful in business and stuff like that. He had his own thing going on. All that was stripped. So I believe his wife was raped. His business was stolen. His land was stolen. He was left with nothing. Like many Raza during that time. And so he was a resistor. And he was actually influenced by some revolutionary. What's his name?
Bolivar.
Oh, yeah, Bolivar.
Bolivar,
Yeah.
Simon.
Simon Bolivar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was influenced by him. Used to read a lot about him.
South
And so I think
America.
he's seen himself as a revolutionary. And he probably just didn't have all the resources and the manpower to actually fight back. But eventually, because he was basically like Robin Hood, rob from the rich, still give to the poor. He had a lot of support from Native American folks, a lot of Mexicanos during that time. And eventually he got caught slipping. He did a few bids in San Quentin. He escaped a couple times. Eventually he got caught slipping by the Santa Clara County Sheriff. He got tried in court. He was found guilty of murder, and he was hung in the courthouse across the street from St. James Park.
Yeah.
Damn.
So in that itself, that history, you go from founding parts of California during the De Anza expedition. I mean, much respect, there was already indigenous people here. At the end of the day, no one found shit, right?
Yeah.
But he founded during the De Anza expedition to San Jose mayor, to outlaw, to bandido, to criminal, to being hung right here in our own city. You know what I'm saying? And
Shout out
I
to
think
the
for us,
Bunnies,
that's like a little bit of a
Wiki
pride
Man.
of just understanding, some of the resistors, and our story as far as our people here, in this country, in this city, in this state, in this county. You know what I'm saying? What people really done been through and lost everything just because they didn't fit in the, I guess, manifest destiny, right? And
In the
whatever.
right category.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And there used to be a law. There was a law that passed in 1855. It was called the Greaser Act. Greaser is basically like, they don't use that term no more. It was a racial slur. Basically means wetback, but it was what they used back in those times. There was a law like a greaser. They actually defined it. A greaser is anyone that's Espanol or Indio. So whether you're native or Spaniard, they didn't really care. You were a greaser to them, and they would lock you up for being unemployed, what they called a vagrant or a vagabond. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you didn't have the right to work either. So you didn't have the right to work,
Yeah.
and you didn't have the right not to work.
Damned
So
if
they
you
were-
do,
they
damned
were-
if you don't.
Exactly. Arrested your ass,
Yeah.
and they put you into forced labor behind the walls.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Talking
Then
about,
Tiburcio was one of those that said, Charlie, I ain't with all that. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
ain't doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
The story goes deep with him, It really does. But he was talking about, when we were talking about that last time, we are talking about like how the conditions are still the same with being on parole and probation and having to go through the
Oh
loops
yeah,
and shit,
it's like one of the even to this day, like one of the requirements of probation or parole is to have a job, which I understand. We should all be working. It's
can
kind of
get a job
interesting
if you
in a
got a
way,
if you
like
got a felony.
you don't get a job. If you think about it, if you don't have a job, they'll lock you.
Yeah.
You get violated.
You have to pay for
Right.
the restitution. So,
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's a messed up thing.
So some things haven't changed.
Yeah, and then like back to the Bucio, like I forgot what I was gonna say about it, man. But because of the greasers, that's what they called him, man. Like one of the police officers that witnessed his death, he wrote a little something about him, pretty interesting, and said that he was very like after he was hung, they had a place for him to lay down, and people all around him and friends and family, and he had 2 candles one from the feet, one to the head, and it looked like his friends had a big celebration of his death, and lots of people. He was kind of like a ladies' man, he actually had these little cards and stuff.
He was like the original Tupac. You know what I mean?
He had a lot of fans,
Right.
So he had to autograph these pictures, and women went to see him before he got hung, and he got picked up down in L.A.
He was a celebrity, eh?
And
It was funny. That's funny, huh?
Yeah, he was.
It's a trip,
he really
eh?
was, eh? And
Yeah.
But see, he denied the murder. The murder, he never.
He claimed innocence till the day
Yeah,
he died.
The day he died, he said he denied it all the way.
Yeah.
So there's no proof they ever did it. They labeled him that. He pretty much died, not even being really, honest. It wasn't. There's no.
Well, he got ratted on. He got ratted on by one of his homies because I guess the allegations was that he messed around with homeboy's wife.
Oh, hell
So
no.
he ratted.
Always over a female.
Yeah, it was over a female. He
Come
ratted.
on, man.
That's what they tried to
But he
make
got
it.
arrested first, and then he ratted, and then they got the Urcio.
Yeah.
So yeah, always.
That ain't right,
It
man.
ain't never changed, man.
They got you too, man.
That's
It did
what they
be like
said
that
his
too, man.
downfall
Shit.
was, his downfall was the women.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's actually like a marker and.
Hey, but much love to all the women out there. Without the women out there, you know what I'm saying? There ain't no us.
Right.
That's right.
what
We
makes the
definitely
world
ain't
go
gonna
round.
have no kids without women.
Right.
Yeah, shout
More
out to
love
the
for the
women.
beautiful things in life. So I don't want to talk down on the women.
No, we gotta
Yeah.
have women in our lives, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, but the root of it is
But that was
we
his-
can't be funking with each other
Yeah,
or snitching on each other over.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, he should have respected
Right.
though.
If
Come
that-
on, there, Woodsy. You could have been. You would have been good, man. Shit.
I wanna, if you don't mind me switching it up, talk to us a little bit about the angle. I watched your video that live. If you watch the whole thing, at the end you start talking and kicking some knowledge on, hey, we got this Cinco de Mayo. We got to be cruising over here on
right.
King and Story to
Right.
keep the money right here in the
Right,
hood
yeah, right.
instead of downtown area.
exactly.
Please kick
Right.
some knowledge on that, bro. People need to
Right.
hear this, bro.
Right. Well, I'm from the old school. I'm in my 40s, early 40s, 41, 42. I don't know. I forget, man. Something like that.
We're right
you know?
there. You have the right to forget where you're at. Go ahead.
Yeah. I never been good with numbers, okay? Nah, but when we were growing up, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would cruise and do our thing, but the cops would always mess with us. We didn't have to be in a car, actually. I used to, me growing up, I'm from the east side. I grew up in Pensacola, and going to school, Fisher Middle School, every single day. Sometimes I get stopped by the cops just for going to school, or just to go to the corner store, whether it was Tropicana or whether it was stopping by. Sometimes I get stopped just to go to the store and then stop back. So, a lot of over-policing. I've been a victim of police brutality. You know what I'm saying? So all of that, I think my last arrest was on Cinco de Mayo, during all the cruising and all of that. So, the city always had a sort of their perspective on how they seen Raza, specifically Chicano or lowrider culture, and even to the past 10, 15 years, when before, right now it's a big thing, like the oldies, spinning records, rare soul. But when we used to do it, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, none of these clubs in downtown San Juan was trying to fuck with us, man. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to have us there. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they're right to a certain degree because they don't want a fight. And sometimes homies set trip, you know what I'm saying? But they for sure were not wanting us there.
Yeah, being all You can't come in with a white T-shirt and you
Yeah.
can't wear a Niner hat.
Right.
Yeah.
They were
But
doing
even
every
if you had
kind
a
of
button up, man, I used to try to go to the clubs.
No, that happened to me too.
I'd be in a button up, and it was before I had tattoos on my neck. You know, it's like they wouldn't want to let us in, man. You know what I'm saying? So they had their sort of perspective of it, both the businesses and law enforcement, right? And you know, nowadays, you know, shout out to Lowrider Council, shout out to the
Big time.
city, everybody in the city that's making a change,
Yeah.
and making
Good
a
change.
real ass change,
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
one that we probably would have never seen in San Juan.
Yeah, it's a good looking.
You know what I'm saying? But what I have been seeing is that now there's a lot of acceptance and a little sexiness. It's sexy now to have a low in front of your bar or your business,
Right.
Right. But it's unfortunately we want that. We should. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but what I'm saying is that, you know, at the end of the day, the businesses that thrive because of that, the tax revenue that thrives because of that, you know, we have to ask ourselves, is that really reflecting our community? You know, when we look at downtown got a whole lot of shit. They got grants, they got a business association, they got all type of shit. You know what I'm saying? They got money for the arts, they got money for festivals, all type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And so, where's this money going to? You know, it's not really benefiting. Any of the stuff we're talking about. We're talking about history that everyone should know. You know what I'm saying? But where's the money at? You know what I mean? People need money more than just this is my feria from my 9 to 5 that I'm gonna put because I got a passion for it. You know, there's grants out there and there's money out there, you know what I'm saying, so that we could thrive, right?
Right.
And so the beautiful thing, I think that what they're doing for Cinco de Mayo is that it's gonna benefit all the local businesses. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna benefit the vendors that are inside that place. You know what I'm saying? And all that feria that's gonna be spent is gonna go back into the Chicano, Latino, Mexicano community.
Right there at King and Story.
Right there, King and Story in the
Right.
heart, where they didn't allow us. That was the time I got my last arrest was there on King and Story.
How long ago? It was a while ago?
Cinco de Mayo, 2000. Shit, man, fucking 2006. Yeah, 2006.
Broad daylight?
I was nighttime.
It was nighttime.
Yeah, it was nighttime. But so when we think about that, like, okay, tax revenue. What are you talking about? Why is that important? Well, it goes back to that thing. If the more money goes into our barrios, right? Then we have a say. Okay, well, we want Chicano studies implemented in world history and U.S. history in all barrio schools. You know, we want festivals. We want public art. You know what I'm saying? We want monuments. We want a big old welcome to King and Story. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't know how. Shout out to Peter and everybody else, but we need to have a goal, right? An objective to create a sustainable feria to keep funding this Cinco de Mayo parade. You know,
And promote it right there on
Right.
King and Story
Right,
instead
King
of
and
so
Story.
much in downtown.
Right.
it back
And
into
maybe
community.
even a collaboration at some point, because there's still going to be people out there, because that's the culture.
Right.
That's always been the culture. You cruise from the Strip,
Yep.
Santa Clara and First, Alum Rock and King, King and Story and back, right? It is what it is. It's going to be like that too.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. That's part of the culture. So eventually there has to be some collaboration with council members and different folks. But anyways, like we have to really be intentional on what businesses this is benefiting and the tax revenue stream that is benefiting, so that, you know, if it is what it is right now, San Jose's hella expensive, right? You know, San Jose's hella expensive, you know what I'm saying? And it's because the real estate market is just catering to the engineers. Well, if that's what it is, then let's make sure that these kids that are going to public schools at barrio schools, you know what I'm saying, instead of worried about getting gentrified, let's have engineer programs up in there. So
Right.
by the time they graduate high school, and they're put into college, they're already, boom, ready to go into and become tech giants themselves.
Right.
So that we could afford to live here.
Right.
And again, that feria could benefit the cultura, no different from Barrio Logan.
Right.
In San
Right.
Diego.
That's what they're doing, eh?
You know?
Exactly. Just, you know, they're a model, eh, of what can be done, eh? You know what I mean?
They got their own business district.
Right on the strip. Hey,
Bunch of small businesses.
Shout out to Borderville.
Latino owned, Chicano owned, Mexican
Salud.
owned.
Barrio Dog. Shit, there's that whole little strip right there. Chicano
It's
Park
cool,
Day's
huh?
coming up this.
The little coffee shop that's out there, record shop out there. Shout out to what is it? Is it
on
Beatbox?
420, they're having Chicano Park Day. Well,
Chicano Park Day. That's coming up. I think.
Yeah,
Market.
I made it down there a couple months ago with my family. It was,
Yeah.
it's
Beautiful.
nice.
Beautiful.
So what's that shop? That's the one that's across the street?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I seen it.
Yeah, all of that.
Beautiful.
It's badass. Like,
I love it,
and
man.
right there, you see it. Welcome to Barrio Logan,
Yeah.
and without a negative connotation.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a-
Because it like one thing I always tell people, there's a difference, right, between East San Jose and East Side San Juan.
Yeah.
There's a difference, man. East San Jose is like is what gente decente want to do. Oh, this is we're not that East Side. We're East San Jose.
East San Jose, right.
You know what I mean? East San Jose. You know what I mean? No, we're from East Side San Juan. There shouldn't be a negative connotation to that. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, if a homie wants to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, you know, what's negative is the perspectives that people have on those things. But we should be, if you're really concerned with the youngsters like that, then, you know, educate them, educate them, embrace them, you know what I'm saying? And don't tell them everything that they're doing is wrong, you know, especially if it's stuff that's being attached to their cultura. Because you sure ain't gonna get it in school. When I was growing up, they weren't teaching nothing about the raza.
Yeah.
You feel me? I had to get it from Street Low magazine, Lowrider magazine. You know what I'm saying? I had to hear stories from homies, check out the murals and shit like that. You know, that was my Chicano studies. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not all Chicanos are going to be able to go to, you feel me, like a university or college to
be able to take the
damn class.
Yeah.
right.
So, like, going back to the revenue stream, that's where really I think that as a raza out here in San Juan, as Sanjoneros, we need to come together, you know what I'm saying, to have an objective plan, you know what I'm saying, how we could secure this funding, put all of the bullshit to the side, and really invest so that, you know, Sal Si Puedes, King of Story, is a historic district, is a cultural zone, you know what I'm saying? And keep that feria coming in, get all the businesses on it, you know, have an actual real association going on, you know, to the owner of Tropicana, to whoever's the owner across the street, all the way to Alam Rock and King, where I think... where's that boxing gym? Who runs that boxing gym that's on Alam Rock and King?
I'm not sure.
Well, shout out to the boxing gym. I forget your name right now, but you're doing good things. But that's the only like successful business that's on that strip. We have 4 or 5
about the Hills?
vacant. Yeah, the Hills.
Okay,
the Hill
the
Training.
Hills. Yeah, Hills Training.
Yeah, shout out to Hill Training.
them, man, for sure.
Yeah, they're the only successful business
yeah.
on the damn strip.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
they
they're
do
all
need-
vacant. You got the Mexican Heritage Plaza,
Right.
but it costs us
Right across the street.
it costs us an arm and a leg just to have an event there.
Right.
But
We need a centro for something like
we need to get this established so that, you know, small time business folks could go ahead and start their business. It could be Latino owned. You know what I'm saying?
It's just got to be all in black and white, like you
Yeah,
mentioned
that's
earlier.
it.
There's a lot of grants that are made specifically for this that we're talking
have
about.
to strike it up.
Right.
Right. So we just have to have it written up all proper.
Right.
Sure.
And you know,
Yep.
no,
It'll be
I
their
think what
language.
you're talking about is beautiful, brother.
Right.
And keeping it inside the community,
Right.
and then passing it on to the educational,
Right.
because this is something that needs to be
Needs
a
to.
part of school,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you are a Chicano
Right.
growing up in a Chicano city.
Right.
Yeah, it's
You
important
know,
to
instead
know
of
where you're
all the, you know, misconceptions,
Right.
and then everybody's growing up, you know, getting pulled 3-4 different directions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, I give you big props on just, you know, coming up with this, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
you just, you know, you're pushing for this, you're thriving,
Right.
you want to really see this, brother, and you know, that's
Yeah, for sure.
that's a beautiful thing, bro.
We got to do it. Like in San Juan, we got Japantown, we got Little Portugal. You feel me? We got Little Saigon, and
Right.
yet the one population that has been here
Yeah.
Since the beginning.
since
We
the
don't
beginning of
got no
fucking time, 10,000
district.
years, damn near. You know what I'm saying? And still to this day, I believe the majority. And we don't got shit.
Yeah, we don't got no
I mean,
district that says
you don't want
that's,
to know that this is ours.
Yeah.
we got
East side,
King and
everybody
Story,
says, you know,
but
you're
it's the
from the east side, you
it's the
kinda-
name of the people.
kinda like
the
East
people
LA,
name it, but we
right?
need
You
something
ain't lying,
shit,
bro.
homie.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I mean, right here down the street, you got Little Mexico, but that's something else, you know. But what you're talking about is have like a Mexico town, just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they have
exactly.
everywhere else.
Something that
Right,
represents
You got
who you are,
exactly.
you know, like
and
our
it's
pizza.
like you know what. obvious, right? You know, that's the heart, right? King and Story,
Right.
you know what I mean? But like, should make it official, stamped
exactly.
and sealed.
Right.
Exactly.
Stamped and sealed.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
a little
And,
something, you know, to signify.
No,
and
let's work on
recognize
that.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
I just had Roy De Niro and Crime Boss on.
Oh, yeah,
here.
shout out, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking
Killer
about
Sharks.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
Killer Sharks, boy.
Shout out to
That's
Killer.
right.
Yeah, and I just had him here 4 days ago, and we were talking about just doing something similar on a nonprofit. You know what I mean? Giving back to the community, and you know, I think if we all come together,
Yeah.
you know, this is a beautiful thing.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? Your thought process on this is right.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
logical.
Yeah.
Right. You know, if you keep the money in the barrio,
Right.
then you can
Exactly.
actually focus on
Right.
the youth and the
Right.
education
Right.
and the
Right,
next
right.
chapters
Right.
to come.
Yeah.
Right.
We got barrios in every part of town, too. I want to
Oh,
give
yeah,
shout out to North Side Salon,
Yeah.
West Side Salon,
Yeah.
South Side Salon. We got barrios everywhere. But I think that
Yes, sir.
right now, the time is right to seize the moment.
Mm-hmm.
King and Story, Sal Si Puedes. Let's hop on that.
Just to
Let's
start
make it
it.
happen.
Get the ball rolling.
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
When, you know, we could do the same thing for like, because I feel bad about that. It's like, you know, a barrio horseshoe. You know, it's being gentrified now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that community comes from the Del Monte Cannery. So a lot of people don't know that. That's how that community got established. Became very beautiful.
The working
They have
class.
The community center. They working class. They got the mural there with the asset counter. They got a lot of beautiful things, not just the negative connotations that society puts on that neighborhood. On the north side, you know, you got Roosevelt, you have Paquesto. You know what I'm saying? On the south side, you got Seven Trees. You got all kind of. South side
Southside's
has
big.
a lot of history.
Yeah,
Right.
we got a lot of history for
A
sure.
lot of history.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, but I think that like, you know, it's time to seize the moment and try to get, you know, King and Story and not to change the name, not a Little Mexico or a Little Chicano town or nothing like that. Just King and Story, a historic district. Sal Si Puedes, aka Mayfair, a historic district and cultural zones. And just start making it happen for small businesses, for folks to be able to afford the rent there, to pay rent and be able to afford it.
Right.
So they don't get touched by gentrification, you know, and more public art, more monuments. You feel me?
So I'll work on
He has a vision of a King and Story sign. I think he has a
yeah.
blueprint or something.
Yeah, design something.
Oh, that's
Real
beautiful.
talk.
So you've already got it in the works.
Oh yeah. It was definitely.
Hell yeah, I want to
something
check that out, man.
Because I've been to different places in like in San Diego, for instance, they got a lot of signs, man, into different neighborhoods. So the one that's like, you know, pretty known within our communities is the Barrio Logan. It lights up too. It's pretty dope. But they got a lot of signs out there for different districts and Little Italy one. Can't really remember all of them off top, but I seen quite a few different parts of town. I think there was like North Park. They all had different kind of signs and shit, but they were really cool. You know what I mean? Like different. And I was like, man, you know, like, how come we don't got, and even in Southern California, just different little towns, they got something, eh? Even on like the railroad, like, you know, it says, welcome to, you know, such and such. And, you know, they got like every little town you go into, there's something that signifies that you know where you're coming into.
Right.
And then I'm like, man, we need something for right there.
Right there at King and Story, right?
We need some kind of monument or something that signifies
Welcome.
yeah, you know, something. You know what I
right.
mean? We need to brainstorm and get all the best minds that can create something and then let the people decide. You know what I mean? Like have some sketches, just like when they're gonna make a Levi Stadium, they had a bunch of different drafts and then the people
Right.
or whoever
We'll vote the best one.
yeah, voted on it.
I got the homie El Padrino street signs.
Okay.
That
yeah.
dude has
He's
been
bad.
doing it for a while. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you
got
know him,
one
but
of
he's,
those signs.
yeah, he's bad.
SJ, I got a
Yeah,
SJ
so we can,
Boulevard
like
Nights.
you said, we come up with a few prototypes and see
Yeah.
what's the best. And
Yeah, he got
Get it
signs,
approved.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
he's-
does the signage.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
No,
Hell
it's all
He can-
about putting these
he
connections
can definitely
together.
do
You know
some
what I mean?
signs. Yeah, for sure. I've
Yeah.
seen he does good work, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that would be the man then. You know, that he could actually do that, you know? Like it'd be our people to do it, you know? We're not gonna hire anybody else. Like he's saying too, we're gonna keep that money within our people.
Right.
Right.
You know, to
That's
create
what it's
that.
all about.
Even when
Yeah.
it comes to murals and stuff.
Yeah, real
like,
talk.
Carlos is bad, eh? Shout out to Carlos, man.
Both Carloses.
Okay. Oh yeah. We got two Carlos.
We got Manzana.
Manzana. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That dude.
And then Carlos Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What was Carlos Manzana's real name? when we mentioned him, he's the one that.
Oh, he invented the Apple
Yeah.
logo. He drew it out.
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, Chicano straight out of San Jose, man.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
OG, man.
invented. He does murals too. He does all kind of
he
stuff.
does
He's an
art.
artist. Like
Yeah,
he's
an art, real legit.
real.
bro.
He's pretty
like-
well
he's
respected in the
yeah.
art community. But
Yes, sir.
what do you call it? Yeah, he invented the Apple logo. You know, the one with the little bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ended up not getting like he was I forget I forget the whole situation, but he ended up I think winning a certain case and getting some of the original artwork back and stuff like that. But much love, man. That's history too. We participated in that
we need to
Silicon
showcase
Valley
our-
side, not
yeah, our
just the
San
lowrider
Jose.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This-
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, speaking on the murals too, I mean, like, shit, you got some stuff to say about some of our murals,
What's that?
especially the one that got painted over.
Oh man,
Yeah.
don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. I don't like to remind you. but
Don't remind me.
That's definitely.
Oh yeah, he's talking about. A lot of people know it as the Payless mural. The actual name of it is Mural de la Raza, and it was right there off of Story and King. It was between Story and King and Jackson and King, or Jackson and Story, Spencer. And it was right there. It's been there since early 80s.
85.
85.
Was he
And
miss,
I would say that was one of the fucking King Chicano murals out there, man.
Yeah, that was that
was
that
bad, eh?
education.
It was.
You know, it was,
It had
And
like the entire
they
history.
painted over it?
oh,
They painted over it. What happened was, there was a certain person. This is actually a pattern. So they had already bought some property that's currently on what is it? Alum Rock,
Alum Rock and Sunset.
Alum Rock and Sunset, and she had painted over there was a mural there that had like indigenous stuff, Cesar Chavez.
Mexiclan.
Painted it unlawfully over it once she bought the property. You're supposed to give notice to the artist. That's what it is.
Yeah,
There's
well-
intellectual property rights. So she painted over it without notice. The artist, what was the artist's name?
Guillermo Aranda. He's from San Diego, but he's based out of Watsone.
He's based out of Watson, right?
But he's a badass artist. And
Yeah.
we were blessed to have some of his work, and I was really upset when that happened. 'cause,
Yeah.
like, that was just like out of the blue.
Pretty iconic mural. That
Yes.
was
It's one of our best looking ones.
off
you
of
know?
Alum
That's
Rock.
sad. The same thing happened in the north
was the
side
same-
too. I
same
saw
owner.
Oh yeah.
somebody painted over a mural because
no.
somebody bought the business and
Well, that was
Yeah.
the one that we were trying to fight for.
It's happening big time, you know. But it happened to the Payless mural, and the same owner. So she obviously she has some type of thing against Chicanos, or at least our art and culture and history. So this is the second time, and I think that she hasn't even done anything with the business. Like she bought the business right there off the Story Road.
fenced up
It's
and all
fenced up, it's
graffiti,
been there. Could have left the mural there. But
Yeah.
decided to
oh,
paint
she just
over it.
painted up and didn't do nothing
yeah,
with
it's
didn't
it.
do
still
nothing with the
abandoned.
property,
Still
just
got
painted
fenced
over it.
fenced off.
That's
Yeah.
hater.
Yeah,
That's some
straight
hater
up.
shit
Yeah, it's
right
bad.
there.
Eh?
So,
it's bad.
so the
All
Raza,
tagged
we
up
all
and
got together. We were fighting that for a good, cool minute, but due to some like legal arguments and stuff like that, the case was kind of put on hold. Pretty much, it was put on freeze. So, and then I think COVID hit. So when COVID hit, you know what I mean, everything done changed after that. You know, people weren't going outside and mask, and everybody thought the world was gonna end.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
That COVID was cold.
so it kind of put things on break. But what it did do is give an awareness to the people, to the gente, about trying to preserve our cultura. And there is actual problem here in San Jose where, gentrification is directly impacting the raza and our murals in history and culture. Because again, like the sort of tradition of Chicano murals is that, it's supposed to act as a way to engage the raza. You know what I'm saying? Especially youngsters that don't have the opportunity to go to Chicano studies like what we're talking earlier. And to them, that's supposed to empower them so they know and understand who they are, and maybe even giving them a sort of like subconscious message to invoke a spirit of doing something.
Be inspired,
changing
right?
something,
And
Yeah,
to be
definitely.
inspired. Right, to organize or to graduate or whatever that might mean.
Stay
to you.
strong,
Stay
right?
strong.
Right.
And it was painted over. But yeah, the movida kind of got put on rest.
Exactly.
because of
During that time, it's just
Yeah.
it really you know.
But you know, I think it did set a sort of precedent in our city about, hey, you know what? Let's start organizing and fighting for our rights. And
It was a
stuff like
beautiful
that.
thing, man.
It was
A lot.
definitely engaged a lot of gente. For sure. We did get one success. We were able to enlist about 6 murals in the
Hell
historic
yeah.
preservation
Congratulations, man.
inventory list. So now
So those are coming soon.
they're already in the inventory. So
That means
basically,
they can't be touched unless they have to go.
they have to go through the preservation first.
Oh,
So they can't just get wiped
so now
out.
these 6 are preserved.
Yeah,
you're
we're
saying,
Right. They're not in full, not 100%. But if an owner wants to pay it over them, they have to go to the Historic Preservation Society. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly.
I think you're right around that.
Yeah, they have to go to them and then call it on and plea that, hey, they would like to paint it over it. And then they have some sort of say. Then they have to give notice to the artist, and the artist has to go ahead and
There's a whole process.
there's
now.
a whole process.
You can't just
do it because
just
you
roll
own it.
over it because you don't like.
Feel me? Yeah.
Because you bought the building or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So we were
Interesting
able to
about-
protect
That's
about
good,
6
man.
murals. Yeah.
Interesting about that, the one that got painted over, it was like they didn't do the job, and they did it in the middle of the night, like some thieves in the night, right? And and they left the Virgen.
They left the Virgen.
It was like-
She's still there too.
It's a trip.
They didn't
It's like-
because
it's a trip.
when the new property owners wanted to paint over it, whoever they hired didn't have it in their heart to paint over the Virgen. So the Virgen stayed there.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was crazy, eh? It's still there.
It's probably Mexican that painted over
Probably
it.
he probably said, you know what, this ain't right, eh?
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing it because it's my job. I'm not trying to get
Gotcha.
fired.
Gotcha.
But I'm not gonna paint over that. That's where I stand. Oh, that's pretty crazy.
That's
eh?
deep.
That's deep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
Mate, it's a pleasure having you guys here. Please let them know how they can get a hold of you on Instagram or whatever website.
For sure. So you can reach me at Raza del Sol. Most people know me from the oldies that I produce. I got a store, distribution.
This guy's badass.
I do all type of shit in the oldies game.
Oh, yeah.
Today we didn't talk about that, just about the Raza. And how about yourself?
You can check it out at Pop64 YouTube. There's some pretty dope stuff on there. I mean,
He got a whole lot of game too. You know what I mean? He don't talk too much, but a lot of my game. That's who I go to.
Just check
He's
out
one of the individuals I go to
there's some videos.
for a lot of the game. He has videos too
You can check out some of the videos and
on the
then,
YouTube, right?
Yeah, YouTube. And then I put some stuff in the playlist. You know what I mean? Just feel free to go check it out.
All old school
kinds of-
lowrider
there's some-
shit
A
back
lot
in the
of
day.
underground stuff you won't see that's hard to find. I always usually like find stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like usually I like the old shit. You know
From
what I mean?
San Juan,
Just
East
old-
Bay.
all over. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
fucking. If it's got some Chicano shit, if you got like that Chicano shit, I got a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? So Pop64 is usually you know what I mean. Check out some of that.
YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, the Pop 6'4",
yeah.
and we got Raza del Sol. It was a pleasure having you gentlemen
Appreciate it.
over.
Likewise, man.
Gracias.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate it,
Thank you, brother. Right on, man.
I really love what y'all doing, man. And we're gonna get together and put some shit in black and white so we can really make
That's
a real
right.
movida, you know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Push it harder and make it
right.
official.
That's
Yeah.
right.
No, it's a pleasure having you guys. And, right here at Pacific Vibes, we're here to inspire and motivate. And these two gentlemen right here are really about the cultura, the culture, the Chicano movement. And I can't give you guys enough props, man.
Right on.
Man, this is PanamaSteve right here at Pacific Vibes Studios. Until next time, y'all be cool.
Yeah.